To understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to do something first. You need to believe in the impossible. Can you do that?
What do you desire that you can't have?
Now you should at least give a brother a moment to say something heroically clever.
You have failed this city.
So I have this thing with rolls?
Just the end of the world.
There's about a dozen ways that I could stop you right now. But I don't think I have to.
You're the boy from the circus.
I started up a security firm.
Finally, a superhero team I can actually get behind.
In the future, my friends may not be heroes, but if we succeed, they will be remembered as legends.
Welcome to the DC TV report for the week ending Saturday, December 21st, 2019. I'm Laletti O'Hare.
And I'm Sarah Netzley, academic by day, writer by night.
We're here to bring you recaps, news, and commentary for all live-action television shows based on DC Comics.
And we have for you one new episode, a season, possibly series finale, and then one retro pick. Because we are in a period of slowdown, to which I say, Ed, thank God.
Yes. Right in time for the holidays. This is our Christmas special, our holiday special. And we do have a Christmas episode for you as the retro pick. We have an incredible finale. Wow, Sarah, this was big. We had Crisis last week and all of that going on. But this week it was just Watchmen that we had to worry about. And whoa,
yeah, that's an understatement. I mean, do we need to banter, or do you want to get into it?
I mean, we could banter.
I didn't mean to say need to banter. I enjoy talking with you.
Yeah.
Please don't think I do that out of some sort of grim obligation. That's not the case.
Yes. And we're both recording this on a Saturday afternoon, where, soon we will both be with relatives celebrating the holidays. And I'm sure we're both anxious to get to that.
Yeah, my family's big gathering is in 4 hours. And I was that person last night at Walgreens being like, this will work for the niece. This will work for my brother. Oh, I got to get something to my sister-in-law. So I was the Walgreens last minute shopper. I've never been that before. But you know what? It came through for me. It came through.
Are you bringing something?
Yes. My mother took mercy on me because she knew I've had a heck of a month leading up to this and said, just bring pies from Costco. So.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm bringing store-bought pie.
Store-bought pie.
Sarah Netzley, available for your holiday gatherings. I come with store-bought pie.
There you go. My mother usually makes a dump cake for Christmas Eve. This is famous in the family.
Really?
Yes. Very simple dump cake.
I feel like there's a lot of different varieties of dump cake. Does she have a particular?
Pineapples and cherries.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I suspect we call that a pineapple upside down cake in my house.
Oh, okay.
I think it's probably the same idea, but yeah, we call that pineapple upside down cake.
Yeah. Well, I just also like the way the crust on top, but she uses walnuts, sometimes pecans, but usually walnuts. And with the melted butter, it's like extra crispy crust. It's almost it's a very, very, very crispy cake crust, almost like a cobbler, but it's cake. And yeah.
Okay, so you need to be careful because we actually do not have Christmas plans, Jason and I. We're just going to kind of be around the house. We could be at the O'Hare homestead by Christmas Eve without a problem. So don't sell it too much because we'll just get.
I mean, you'd have to work that out with my Uncle Eddie and my Aunt Karen, because that's where we spend Christmas Eve.
I mean, they've always seemed like very reasonable people to me. So.
All right. I think that's enough. You want to just jump right in?
That's enough talk about our welfare and our holiday plans. Let's talk about Watchmen.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about Watchmen. Season 1 finale. See how they fly. Senator Keene and the 7th Cavalry captured Dr. Manhattan and were ready to steal his power. Lady True brought her father, Adrian Veidt, home from Europa to watch her complete her life's work. Last-minute reveal, Angela swallowed an egg and took a step onto her pool.
Well, Ed, this was a masterpiece and my best TV of 2019. I'm not necessarily talking about this episode. I'm talking about the show as a whole, although this episode was outstanding.
Yes. I would like to give a shout out to my sister Irene and my brother-in-law Mike, because I crashed at their place last weekend in Massachusetts and convinced them to binge watch all of season 1 over 2 days, so we could all watch the finale together, and it was quite an experience. And that
what did they think?
They were well, my Mike had read the books, Irene had not, and both were mind blown. It was interesting to see them try to connect things over the course of the weekend, but
Mm-hmm.
But I think Irene in particular was mind blown by all of the different reveals in Dr. Manhattan. She was very upset at first when it turned out that Cal was Dr. Manhattan, because she didn't think she'd be able to see his lovely body anymore. But
Oh, Irene, do we have news for you? Please, Dr. Manhattan is the most famous nudist in comics history, is he not?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Okay, so since we're talking Dr. Manhattan, what did you think of Senator Keene's panties?
Oh my god. So you could see a little bit of something like sticking up over the waist of his pants, and I was like, that seems weird, and he took them off. This was an exceptionally funny finale for something that broke my heart and like tore me to pieces. It was really funny. And I gotta say, Laurie Blake, like, tie her to a chair, threaten her life, put her in a room of white supremacists, threaten to murder the man she loves, she will still make fun of your panties to your face. Goals.
Merciless.
I loved that this episode was built so cleverly that you saw these reveals and you see it being peeled back and you see these explanations and it makes sense, and everything came together in a way that left me satisfied, that I thought was earned by everything that came before. And the quick dispatch of James Wool, Senator Keene, was well handled, surprising. Yeah. Can we put that guy in a rom-com soon, please? He's so charming, and I just don't want him to play a preening racist psychopath. That would be great.
Yeah. He could probably use something like that. That would be.
Oh, for sure. And I super loved the Lady True very calmly. Oh no, we're gonna kill you all. Of course we are.
Yeah, and Lady True, I mean, she was the last piece of the puzzle that we didn't really know her backstory or where she came from. And this episode did not disappoint, finding out how her mom stole Ozymandias' sperm.
Do you kind of feel like if you keep vials of your sperm around, you're sort of asking for it?
Yeah, you're kind
I mean, I don't mean to victim blame. I truly don't. But like, you just leave that lying around. You know.
Yes, yeah. I had a conversation with someone at work who was like, well, I mean, that's how we know Adrian Veidt is gay. Said I never.
Is that how you know?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I had no idea.
Well, like he said he'd never given his body to a woman. But to me, that says more that he's asexual, that he wouldn't give his body to anybody because he was so focused on his work.
I kind of took it to mean narcissism, like who would be worthy of him.
Yes.
And so I guess that is a type of asexuality. But that is interesting. That's a different way to read that, and that's just an interpretation that maybe isn't the first to my mind because of my where I stand in things. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Hey man, if we want to explore Adrian Veidt further in future seasons, which we'll talk about at the end of this, you know, I'm into it.
Yeah, and he was still a jerk in this episode.
Oh, yes, he was.
Like that moment with the game warden where you realize that all of this was actually planned by Veidt. That he set up all of this. He told the game warden to try to stop him. He was not. He was. Everything was happening was of Adrian Veidt's will. He knew exactly what was going on. He was not being trapped there.
What a twisted mind.
And then
to just twist that knife on that poor game warden.
After all of that, was I worthy adversary? No. She put on a good show. It was just
vicious.
And I'm really glad that Laurie and Wade got the drop on him at the end, and we're like,
yes, yeah, and they didn't let him off. He was just so genuinely surprised.
Save the world again. Yeah, no. Yeah. And like Laurie and Wade did not have much to do in this episode, but I thought what they did was very memorable. And I was really kind of worried of like where Wade was at the end of episode 5 and like how he was going to come out of this. And it's nice to see that he got a little bit of closure.
Yes, and I actually cottoned to, one of those guys in the mask is going to be, yes, and he was. And just for him to come face to face with Veidt and to this man who did this to him and made him who he is, was really satisfying. So even though he didn't have as much maybe to do or as much screen time, what he did was fabulous.
And yeah, and the whole succession of everyone thinks that they have this planned out, that they've got it all figured out. And then everyone slowly gets to learn that no, we got the drop on that this isn't going to work out for you, Senator Keene. Well, like I can't believe Angela like told him this is exactly what's going to happen, and he just would not buy it and just insisted like no, this is what I want, and yeah, turned into a giant puddle of goo.
I mean, you got to get rid of the radiation first. Come on, man.
Yes, yeah, and thankfully, Lady True was defeated by Dr. Manhattan, or Dr. Manhattan's plans. Yeah, you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the frozen squids.
Oh yes, yeah. They basically turned them into giant ice bullets.
Man, that through the hand shot was. Yeah. I love a villain who sees her plans coming apart and just accepts it with such savoir-faire, I guess. Just, you know what? I was outplayed. I will accept this inevitable death. Here we go.
Yeah. What do you think happens to Beyond now? Do you think like Red Scare and Pirate Jenny take her in and raise her as their own?
Oh, well, that's 100% my mental canon now. Yes. Angela adopts her. Actually, there have been no plans announced for season 2 yet. Again, we'll talk about that. But I felt like that closing shot as they are escaping through the bakery and the oldest child, Angela's oldest child, looks and sees the Sister Night costume. That felt like setting up season 2 to me. That betrayal and that moment I thought was really powerful, and they moved on, and that felt like a whole universe of things to explore as that kid grows up. What was that like?
Yes. Yeah. It's a lot to think about. But I mean, before we get to news and end season 2, I think the real emotional crux of this came at the end in the theater in the conversation between Angela and Will, where they finally get to talk things out. And where basically, he tells her you can't heal behind a mask. Wounds need air.
Yeah. That felt like the crux of the season. That felt like the what everything was driving toward, and a great thesis. And I did love that it ended where it started. And that she brought him home with her. That was great. For me, the emotional highlight was, and we kind of glossed over like the death of Dr. Manhattan. which I thought was bold. You thought Alan Moore was mad before. But him not wanting to send Angela away because he didn't want to be alone when he died, and him in his last moments being in all their moments together at the same time, I'm still a little like, ugh,
Oh yeah, that's all
tear clogged just thinking about it.
that's all the feels. That's the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They built a gorgeous love story. They built a powerful origin story, for Angela, and that was such a pitch perfect ending to a Damon Lindelof show. He loves to leave you with did she or didn't she? That's, I don't want to spoil the leftovers, but it felt a lot like that. With that sort of, you can be debating this a year later. You'll still be talking about this.
Yeah.
Did she float or not? Did she walk on water? Did she sink to the bottom?
Yeah. We did the Sopranos ending because HBO's a bunch of punk bitches. All right, I'm gonna.
I loved it. This was the perfect ending. Did you want more resolution?
Yeah. All right. So here's the thing. All right. If you know you're only going to be one season, and you tell your audience up front, Damon Lindelof has said this will be a standalone. You will walk away knowing a full story and knowing all the answers, and to leave it off just at that one last moment, I feel like that's a cop-out. I feel like, and you don't need to do much. Just show her skin starting to turn like a slight shade of blue. Just have the one foot stay as the second foot is lifting off the ground. I feel like you should have, because we all kind of know what's going to happen, but I think you should have had that confirmation. Because otherwise I felt cheated. I did. And
I love the lack of confirmation.
Yeah.
I love that you can put your own spin on. I guess we're the two different poles of fandom then.
Yeah, because to me, if he decides not to do it and HBO makes me the showrunner for season 2, I am opening with that same shot. And then Angela falls into the water and screams to the heavens, "You bald-headed fuck!" Just as a double entendre, because for those who don't know, Damon Lindelof is bald. Or balding, I guess you would say.
I feel like you just worked through something.
Yes.
I thought it was perfect. Actually, it reminded me a little bit of Breaking Bad, in that I thought the penultimate episode was the stronger episode, and then the finale tied everything up in a very satisfying way, even if what came before was perhaps slightly superior as an episode. That's sort of how I felt here.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought this show was perfect.
Yeah, but to me, like, if you're going to do that, then guarantee us a season 2.
Oh, see, and I'm fine if this never comes back.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to leave a cliffhanger like that, you have to give us a season 2. It's not fair. I don't think it's fair. And it's okay that we disagree, because we're two healthy people and we can still love each other, Sarah.
That's right. I'm not going to go savage you on Twitter, or am I? I guess maybe for me, it's the law of diminishing returns. My concern is we have Angela in this position where she's been set up to be a kind and caring and involved God, where Dr. Manhattan removed himself. And Lady True, do I think Lady True would have done good things? I actually do. I think she probably would have gone too far. But I think her intent was good. He could have done more. He should have done more. She's right. But Angela, I think, is more practical on the ground, could do more. Mm-hmm. And so do I want to see that? Yes, but I feel like season 2 would be her struggling and failing, maybe. And that would be interesting, of course, but I want to think of her as this perfect potential to do really good, important things. And I don't necessarily need to see it. I just want to believe in my heart that it happened.
Okay.
That's where I stand.
Okay. Well, I think we can, this is kind of really leading into news for Watchmen. So let's get that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the big one, of course, is that there is no plan for a season 2 at this point. David Lindelof has said, I don't have a story for it. Until I have a story for it, I do not want there to be a season 2. people involved in the show, of course, would like it. Regina King would be very interested in a season 2. Of course. Hello. Why wouldn't you? So David Lindelof has said it would be interesting to give showrunner duties over to a person of color, a woman, somebody who might bring a different perspective to it. It feels very never say never to me. I wouldn't be surprised if we see season 2, especially with the critical acclaim, so many year-end lists, and even decade best lists of TV that I've been consuming because I've just been doing nonstop TV podcasts this week. Have talked about, I had to make room on my list for Watchmen because it just came out of nowhere in the last month of the decade and blew me away. How do you not revisit that, given all that?
Of course.
Let's see. Other news. The show would have liked to have done more with Lady True. We really only got her story in the last episode. Would have been nice to have done more, they said. But then again, it just the number of episodes and the time allotted to the show broke down really perfectly for them. They did consider adding Dan Dryberg. They didn't end up doing that. They kind of had to cut those scenes out. They did invite Robert Redford to appear. They sent him a letter inviting him to guest star, but he did not respond to the letter. And then the most important news for Watchmen that you're going to hear just all year is Agent Petey is Lube Man. Ooh. Mystery solved.
Yes. I read this on the Peteypedia. And
yes, the last entry in the Peteypedia, which is the online collection of documents that Agent Petey was curating, was an announcement that he'd been fired for leaking all of those things in his Peteypedia, and also they found a big bottle of canola oil in his effects. So and if apparently that stunt was done with zero CGI, it was all practical effects.
Wow.
That Lube Man down the drain scene. And if you watch the video of that, you can see the lube stain on the pavement when he goes into the drain. So do you want me to say lube one more time just for good measure, or are we good?
Lube. Okay.
So that's all I have for Watchmen, other than to say, damn, that was a good show.
Yeah, I will say, if they do a season 2, one thing I would like to see is Adrian Veidt and Dan Dryberg sharing a prison cell together. And Adrian slowly convincing Dan to help him mount an escape. I think that's...
Can you think of a worse cellmate than Adrian Veidt?
I mean, we already know how much he jerks off, which is...
so much. And so methodically. There's no joy in it. Ugh.
All right. So, let's move into news for other shows.
Okay, well, not surprising in that we are closing in on the holidays and everybody wants some damn time off. Let's go with The Flash, where we have news that Keenan Lonsdale is going to be back for episode 14 as Wally West. So we're going to see Kid Flash.
Yeah, even after that whole music video, I guess that career, I don't know. Or maybe.
I mean, he was in Love, Simon. I mean, he has done some film and things. It's good for him to come back for an episode. Sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's it for The Flash. Moving on to the last news of the week. I wasn't kidding. We don't have much. Lucifer was named the most watched streaming show of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. So whatever mechanism they have to track that, it was apparently the number one watched show on streaming sites. So, woot.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It almost makes you question why they're only doing one more season.
It does make you wonder if it sounds like nobody's going to change their minds, but that's, Netflix. They got money. They could back that truck up and convince people. So, yeah. But that's so. Let's see. The other, just kind of a funny little one-off, but Mark Bernardin had said on Twitter, hey, I would do a Constantine Lucifer crossover show where they road trip around the world, breaking hearts and starting fights. But he did some. He's written on Carnival Row and Castle Rock and things like that. So he's got geek cred. That would be a lot of fun. And of course, Matt Ryan then pops up and says, "Sure, I'll do that. You want to be Lucifer someplace? I'll do that."
Tom Ellis, make it happen.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get on board. But can you imagine a mini series of those two bros just broing out on the road?
That would be amazing. That would be fun. That would be oh my god. That's so R-rated.
Yeah, and of course Mark says we'll call it Highway to Hell.
Oh, all right. So that's the news.
That is the news.
That is the news. So now it's Christmas time. Let's have some fun and roll into our retro pick, which this week is Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. Season 4, Episode 11. 'Twas the night before Miximas. Lois was getting anxious about all the guests she and Clark were preparing to host for Christmas dinner. Mr. Mixius Pitlick popped over from the fifth dimension and tried to squash all the hope in the world by taking away tomorrow. Last minute reveal: after the annoying imp said his name backwards and everything went back to normal, Lois and Clark shared a beautiful kiss.
Oh, God bless us, everyone.
So
this is the first time I watched Lois and Clark since approximately 1998.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, I just had not revisited it. I was so tickled by how what's the word I'm looking? It's just so basic and clean, and I guess everything is so like gritty. I'm just saying words.
Yes. Yeah.
It just felt like whole milk.
It's straightforward. It's simple, and yeah. We're not trying to be like dark and gritty and everything. It's just like, nope. This is Superman. This is what Superman is. This is, he's all about hope and inspiration. And yeah, and like they need to make more shows like this. I'm just saying.
Well, I hope that if the CW goes through with Superman and Lois, I hope it looks a little like that. I hope it has that cheerful, clean, scrubbed optimism.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and yeah, and it really kind of took me back. It's definitely pre-Sopranos television, because this is one story, has a beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't really connect to prior episodes. But you actually do feel like there's a little bit of movement in the characters. You get to see everybody who's in the opening credits involved. Just to kind of go over some of the main cast members from the show. Obviously, Clark Kent, Superman, played by Dean Cain. Terry Hatcher's Lois Lane. Lane Smith as Perry White. Oh, and I think he's my favorite Perry White.
Lane Smith has been dead since 2005.
I know.
That blew my mind. I'm sorry, continue.
Rest in peace. Justin Whalen is Jimmy Olsen, and Jonathan and Martha Kent, played by Eddie Jones and Kay Callan. Wonderful. I, really, everyone knew their parts, and it was fun, and they didn't try to subvert it at all. It just true blue. This is Superman. Here it is on television.
I was amused that it's not just Aunt May over in the MCU who got sexier as time went by. If you think about Ma and Pa Kent in Smallville versus Ma and Pa Kent here, way sexier on Smallville.
Oh, yes. And and let's get to our big guest star for this week as Mr. Mixes Pitlick, Howie Mandel with hair and a goatee.
That was a horrifying amount of hair. Why so much hair? My God. Question: is that character supposed to look like a fancy pirate?
No. I mean, he's
so that was a choice.
Yes, yeah. He's a little guy. Maybe like a head shorter than Hobbit. With usually like a purple and orange costume, and he's got like a big bowler hat on. So they went in a different direction here.
Yes, they went fancy pirate. He was, I guess I appreciated the underhanded nature of what he did. I do love me a time loop. Um, I also was at first horrified that what newsroom budget has room for past hors d'oeuvres at the holiday party. I see now that it was, to make the point.
Yes.
About everything getting smaller. So that made me feel a little bit better. But yeah, that was fun. The third tree felt about right for a holiday party in a newsroom.
Yeah. Also, like when Perry says that first tree, he had to have hauled up the side of the building. It was like, wow, that's a thing people did. Like, would you have like a crane or something?
I can only reference While You Were Sleeping. It's the only other time I've seen a tree hauled up the side of a building. It's the best I can do.
Wow. And yeah. So, Mixie Pitlick shows up and decides that he wants to stop Superman by taking away everyone's hope. And he does this by creating a time loop.
Yeah, you know who's not going to let that happen? Superman.
Yes. For Howie Mandel as Mixes Pitlick, definitely had the fun of the comics, but also there's a little bite in there that was actually kind of scary. I thought, the fact that he turned a dog into a chew toy, just he obliterated that bartender. Like, they're actually kind of, even though it's very jokey and funny, there actually is a real threat going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, I'm a sucker for good Christmas stories, and I think that's really why I picked this episode, because the way that he brings everything together. And I really think Zack Snyder needs to sit down and watch this and show, like, this is how Superman is inspirational. It's not by saving everyone and who from falling out of buildings or stopping bank robbers. It's by getting that bank robber a job and convincing the rich guy who fell out of the building to help pay for toys for the kids whose orphanage burned down. Like, that to me is Superman.
I got a question. Who is robbing banks in Metropolis? Don't you know how that's going to end?
I mean, desperate times, man. Desperate times. Maybe he'll be helping somebody else. Maybe, because that is the real conundrum of Superman, is that he could do all of these things, but he can only help one person at a time. He cannot be in two places at once. He's not Dr. Manhattan.
He's not Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, this was just a lovely reminder of what makes Superman so good. And it was fun. I enjoyed the everything just getting smaller and sadder. Poor Lois and her imposter syndrome. Oh, this is garbage. I'm not a good writer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how was the journalism in this episode?
It was pretty good. No, I mean, like, everybody's been there. I can't turn this in. This is no. I would rather just throw this away. I've been there. We've all been there.
Did it make you wish you worked in a newspaper in the 90s?
I did work in a newspaper in the 90s. I was an intern in the year that this was set at my hometown newspaper, and then I graduated and got a job there in 2000 was my first full time. Yeah, it was very accurate. We didn't wear white suits, like nobody wore a white business suit ever. So Lois was really fancy there, but that was good. I enjoyed that. Can we talk real quick about Jimmy's girlfriend?
Oh, yes. So Jimmy's girlfriend, Brenda, who's a Rhodes Scholar. And my favorite moment in this episode is when Lois is getting all dejected and she's explaining, well, Middle East, Europe is about to go to war. Your parents have lost their farm. My mother just got stood up by my father. Perry's crying because he never played Santa for his kids, and Jimmy's upset because his girlfriend's a hooker.
And what they did with her wardrobe every time was impressive, and the height of the hair in that last version, my goodness.
Yes, and that's the best when Lois is after she's realized what happened and she's trying to help everyone along, and she's like taking the eggnog away from her mom, and then she just passes by Bren and goes, Bren, we should have a talk. But yeah, poor Jimmy. Do you think she's the one? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like neither is the one. The Rhodes Scholar is probably not the one for Jimmy Olsen, but probably not the sex worker with the 3-foot tall hair. I feel like also not the one for Jimmy.
Yeah. And if you, and and if you think about where the show was, this was in the last season. This was after Lois and Clark had gotten married, so she knew who he was. A lot of people felt like by this point in the show it was kind of spinning tires, and the ratings were starting to dip off, and it was nearing cancellation. But I think I always thought of this episode as kind of a little bright spot.
It was Lois's worst hair season.
Yes.
But I appreciated Lois's very real, as somebody who's not a great homemaker myself, that, oh God, another person is coming? Okay, two more people. Okay. Like, I have done that calculus as the guest list expanded. I've been there. So I felt that to my bones, what Lois was going through.
Yes, yeah. And I do remember in the show, her not adjusting to domesticity very well. One episode,
she wouldn't. I mean, that's so Lois.
Yes. Her trying to cook a roast, and she slices it open, and there's absolutely no red inside, and she's ready to cry.
Look, you shouldn't ask Lois Lane to make your roast. That's not what Lois is there for. She's there to write stories, be sassy, use her smarts. Cook a roast. The special effect on the tree at the end was really something.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
yeah. I think there's what's not to like.
Also, we see where the movie Elf got its ending.
Yeah. You want to elaborate a little bit?
When Lois, in the most out of character moment, as far as I'm concerned, except that she is married to Superman and she wants to see everything succeed, starts singing. Was it Deck the Halls?
Yes.
Starts singing by herself. Nobody joins. She sings a little bit more, and eventually everybody joins in, and that's what saves the day. It was very elfy, but at first I was like, would Lois sing? But she would. You know what? She would, because she's married to GD Superman, so of course she would.
Yes. Yeah. And this is from a bygone era. This is a different type of show. And I'm hoping we can.
It was delightful.
Yes, it's delightful. I'm hoping we get more TV shows and movies to try to combat all the cynicism in the world. But yeah, that's what to think about. So yeah, is there anything more to say about this episode? Or do you think we kind of covered it?
I am confused about why Martha Kent was wearing an American flag sweater to a Christmas party. That is all I've got.
She's a farmer from Kansas. That's
but so she would have a sweater with like a poinsettia leaf or something. Like she would have a Christmas sweater is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That woman has a vest that has a battery pack inside with an actual D battery in it that lights up a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Remember, that's what she wore to the airport.
That's true. Maybe it was her travel sweater and it just, they ran late.
Yeah.
Or they ran early. I'm sorry. They ran early. So she just had to throw on whatever she could. Fair.
There we go. Thank God we solved that problem. But now it's time for our winner of the week. And we only had one major episode. I guess we could pull from the retro pick if we wanted to. Sarah, do you want to go first or should I go first?
Why don't you go first?
I picked Squidfall because I feel like every main character had kind of like a catch. Angela gets to be, Angela saves the day, but she loses her husband. Adrian Veidt saves the day, but he's going to prison. Lady True completes her life's work, but she's dead now. So, to me, the only people that won out were the squids, who are also all dead now, but really had their shining moments as when they got turned into ice bullets and shot down upon Tulsa like a Gatling gun.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I feel like mine is going to be sadder, and I guess my winner of the week, other than all of us, because Watchmen was so good, is Dr. Manhattan, who died, and I see that. Oh God, spoilers! I'm so sorry if anybody has listened to this. But he was so tired, right, of humanity and life, and he accepted his fate, and he had set things up that needed to be set up to care for the people he cared for, and in the end he had the love of his life with him, and he had all the memories that they had together. And honestly, I don't want to see him destroyed, but if he sets his burden down, he went out in his own way, and what of him maybe lives on, I don't really know. How much of Dr. Manhattan is gone? How much remains? That's a good question. I just thank you for the years of memories, Dr. Manhattan, you big blue nudist, you.
To Dr. Manhattan.
Pour one out.
Let's all have a swig of eggnog for Dr. Manhattan. All right. So that's it. One last thing. Next week we have no episodes, which means we're doing another retro pick. And Sarah, I let you choose the episode. So where on DC Universe can we find our next retro pick?
All right. We are going to Wonder Woman, the 1970s show.
Ooh.
That I am very excited about. I have not really seen much of this show, so I had to go through a list of episode descriptions and sort of find curated options to choose. But I think the one that would be fun for us to do next weekend is season 1, episode 4, Beauty on Parade.
Ooh.
Is Diana Prince going to have to go undercover at a suspicious beauty contest? Oh, you bet your tiara she is. So that's what we're doing, and I am excited.
So next week we have a Wonder Woman coming out a Wonder Woman movie coming out next year. So why not spend next week with Linda Carter as Wonder Woman? I vote yay.
So say we all.
Yes, looking forward to it. And thanks, Sarah. Sarah, we're done. Like, wow, we can relax.
We survived 2019.
Yes. And and next week is our last episode of the year. So we might do something special. I haven't told Sarah about this yet. But we'll talk about that after we get off. So come hang out with us and get to talk about everything that we appreciated in DC TV this past year. Happy holidays, everybody. That's the DC TV report for this week. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Lil Eddie O'Hare.
I'm at Sarah Netzley, SaranEtzley.
And follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice and rate and review us. That helps more people find us. Check out our sister show, the Wicked Theory Podcast. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer, Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam.
Shazam.